Jakarta is growing, bigger and taller. More than 10 million people in a city close to several fault lines. Millions who live in houses that are not earthquake-proof. Compared to other quake-prone cities like Tokyo and San Francisco, scientists say the Indonesian capital is dangerously unprepared.
Memang cukup mengkhawatirkan ya.
We are worried because there's a high risk for earthquakes here. There are so many people who live in very fragile circumstances. Their capacity to deal with a disaster is very low. Even Jakarta still doesn't have standard operating procedures in case an earthquake hits.
The red dots on this map show how many earthquakes have hit Indonesia in the past 37 years. Although Jakarta has not been at the epicenter of any of these quakes, the city is surrounded by several fault lines, only a few hundred kilometers away. After the magnitude 8.6 earthquake in Aceh in mid-April, seismologists are now saying the risk of another huge quake has increased. The panic that followed, they say, is a lesson for the authorities that evacuation procedures are still far from perfect.
Nobody dares to imagine what would happen if Jakarta would be hit by a big earthquake anytime soon. Millions of people, many crammed in unsafe buildings at small alleys like this one. Although the city has a history of quakes, it took the authorities until now to start investigating the risks.
The government has recently started a process called microzoning to measure earthquake activity deep inside the earth. They're digging holes up to 400 meters deep and installing sensors. Until this is finished, the authorities simply don't know if the city is on a fault line.
Tadi kalau skyscrapers, saya kira persyaratan sudah sangat ketat.
All our skyscrapers are safe because they follow special building codes. For other buildings, we are still doing this micro-zoning. I am the first to do this in Indonesia. I agree that Jakarta is in a similar situation as other quake-prone cities. So it's about time that Jakarta has this information. Based on that, we'll sharpen our building codes.
It is expected to take 2 years before people in Jakarta find out how unstable the ground is. But most people in the Indonesian capital seem oblivious to the risks. They are too busy worrying about surviving from one day to the next. VAESSEN, Al Jazeera, Jakarta.